Libra, you carry these three spiritual marks. Do you know you have them too? Have you ever found yourself wondering why you function the way you do? Not in the way the world explains Libra. Not the beautiful, balanced version that likes harmony and hates conflict. You already know that. Everyone knows that. But there's something about you that never fit into that description. A layer beneath that ordinary words can't reach. In this video, I'm going to talk about three marks that Libra carries. They didn't choose them. They didn't acquire them. They didn't develop them. They're simply there, engraved before the first memory, before the first relationship, before anything that could shape who you've become. Most people who talk about these marks focus on the decorative aspect. Libra is sensitive. Libra has a sense of justice. Libra loves beauty, but nobody talks about the real cost of carrying all three at the same time. About what happens when a high-precision system works without pause. About the moment Libra realizes that it has spent years using its marks to serve others without ever consulting them for itself. There's something no one has told you about Libra's spiritual traits, not because it's a closely guarded secret, but because most people who talk about it stay on the surface, focusing on what shines, what's visible, what sounds nice. And Libra, of all the signs, deserves more than what shines on the surface. So let me ask you something before we begin. Have you ever had the feeling that something about you worked differently than other people? Not better, not worse, but different? As if you were tuned to a frequency that most people don't even know exists. You didn't choose it. You didn't learn it. It wasn't something you developed through effort or discipline. It was simply there. It always had been. That's what this video is about. Not about Libra's gifts, as if they were trophies to display, but about what was engraved before any choice, before the first memory, before the first relationship that shaped who you became, before everything. Because the three spiritual marks that Libra carries are not achievements, they are not rewards, they are fingerprints of the soul, and fingerprints are not chosen. They simply reveal who you are at the most fundamental level that exists. Think about how a fingerprint is formed. While still in the womb, before any experience, before any pain or joy that could shape a character, the design is already there, unique, impossible to copy, impossible to erase. And when you touch something, a surface, a person, a situation, you leave your mark without even realizing it. Libra works like this. It's not that Libra decided to be sensitive. It's not that Libra trained their sense of justice over the years. It's not that Libra cultivated a special relationship with beauty, like someone learning a language. These three things are simply there, ingrained in the sign's innermost structure, operating all the time, visible to the world in their gentlest form and completely invisible to the world in their true cost. The first hallmark of Libra is a sensitivity that goes beyond what the word normally means. I'm not talking about someone who cries easily or gets hurt quickly. I'm talking about an emotional detection system that operates in the Libra body before the mind has time to process it. Think of a seismograph, not the kind of earthquake everyone feels, the one that shakes structures, knocks things over, and wakes people up in the middle of the night. The seismograph records micro-tremors, the oscillations that happen deep underground, invisible before any visible movement on the surface. Libra is that instrument. She enters a room and already knows. She doesn't think, she doesn't analyze, she just knows if something is wrong. If there's tension between two people that even they haven't yet recognized. If that meeting is going to fall apart before anyone opens their mouth. If that friendship has a crack that everyone is pretending not to see. This isn't mystical intuition. It's a highly calibrated spiritual nervous system. And for a long time, Libra thought everyone functioned this way, that everyone felt the tremors before seeing the earthquake. Only then did she realize, slowly, sometimes painfully, that this wasn't the case. That what seemed obvious to her was completely invisible to most people around her. And then comes the question that hangs in the air. the one you may have already asked yourself without knowing exactly what you were asking. If Libra senses what the environment hasn't yet shown, who takes care of Libra when the tremor comes from deep within? That is, it was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose. It didn't come to me as a self-help guide. It came as a mirror. Because when you're a Libra and you spend years feeling everyone else's tremors, there comes a time when you need something to help you recognize your own signs. The first spiritual mark isn't an eternal burden, but it asks you to learn to distinguish what is yours from what belongs to the environment. And that's exactly what this book works on. Not a formula for balance, but a way to understand where you begin and where the other ends. Right now, as you process what you've just heard, something is stirring within you. It's not pointless discomfort. It's recognition. It's the feeling that someone has finally accurately described something you've always experienced but never knew how to name. This is the moment. Not later, not when you have more time, not when life is calmer. Now. Because insights that don't translate into action fade, and this one specifically deserves more than to disappear in the rush of the day. The link is in the first pinned comment. But be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. And before we continue, tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed that you sense things in environments or relationships before you can explain why? How do you deal with that signal when it arrives? There is a cost that Libra pays for carrying this system, and almost no one talks about it because it seems ungrateful to talk about it. After all, being sensitive is a gift, right? That's what people say. But no one talks about what happens when the gift doesn't have a break. Imagine a parabolic antenna, one of those large ones that picks up signals from satellites miles away. It doesn't choose what to pick up. It doesn't filter. It doesn't decide that today it will only receive good signals, only weak energies. It simply picks up everything, all the time, with the same intensity for the clear signal and for the interference. Libra is that antenna. And what people forget, what Libra sometimes forgets about itself, is that an antenna that picks up everything non-stop needs maintenance. It needs to be calibrated. It needs moments when no signal arrives, where silence is not the absence of life, but a condition for continuing to function. But Libra rarely allows this silence, because when the signal stops coming from others, the internal signals become louder. And then there's another kind of tremor to deal with, the one that comes from within, that has no face or clear name, that just throbs and waits. The cost of the first mark isn't the pain of feeling too much. The real cost is the exhaustion of feeling for others what they should feel for themselves, and doing it so naturally that you don't even realize you're carrying something that isn't yours. You know what I'm talking about. That feeling of leaving a conversation heavier than when you went in, even if it was a good conversation. Of coming home after an event and needing hours of silence to recover. Of feeling responsible for the emotional state of the people around you, even when no one asked you to. This is not weakness, it's the operational cost of a high-precision system running non-stop, and recognizing this cost is the first step to stop paying it silently. And here's what this cost reveals. Libra carries something most people can't even imagine, the silent responsibility of being the emotional buffer of the environment. Not out of obligation, by nature. And when this burden goes unacknowledged, it becomes an invisible weight that accumulates namelessly. The book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, delves deep into what I call the spiritual exhaustion of the receiver. That state in which Libra has given so much of itself that it can no longer distinguish what it feels from what it has absorbed. It's a book that changes how you relate to your own sensitivity, not to erase it, but to learn to inhabit it without getting lost in it. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. The second Libra trait doesn't reside where people imagine it to. Everyone knows the superficial version. Libra has a sense of justice. Libra likes balance. Libra hates conflict. True, but none of these phrases come close to what this sign truly is. Libra's sense of justice is not an intellectual position. It's not an opinion developed over time through reading, reflecting, and reaching conclusions. It's a physical reaction. Libra feels injustice in their body before they can articulate it mentally. It's a pressure, a discomfort, something that tightens before it has a name. He thinks on a laboratory scale, not the common scale that measures kilograms, but one of extreme precision that detects differences of thousandths of a gram, a difference that the human eye is completely incapable of seeing. Libra operates on this scale. It perceives ethical and emotional imbalances long before any visible evidence emerges. This makes her extraordinarily fair. Libra is the person in the room who can see both sides of a situation when everyone else has already chosen a side, who can give voice to those who have no voice, who senses when a decision seems right on the surface but has something wrong underneath. But this brand has a side that's painful to admit. Libra's laboratory scale doesn't shut down when the injustice in question is one she herself committed against herself. When Libra put others first for so long that her own name disappeared from the list of priorities. When she remained silent when she should have spoken. When she yielded when she should have stood firm. When she minimized her feelings to avoid creating tension. The second characteristic of Libra is extraordinarily fair to the world. The unsettling question this characteristic silently carries is, when will Libra begin to apply to itself the same standard it applies to everyone else? Libra doesn't know there's a third mark until someone points it out precisely. Not because they don't experience it, they experience it intensely all the time. But because the world has treated this mark as superficial for so long that Libra has begun to believe that perhaps it is. The third characteristic is Libra's relationship with beauty. I'm not talking about aesthetics as a personal preference. I'm not talking about liking beautiful things, having good taste, or knowing how to decorate a space. Those are the visible consequences. What I want to name is more fundamental than that. For Libra, beauty is a language. It's the way they translate the invisible into something that can be perceived. Think of an architect, not the kind who just calculates structure and cost, the kind who designs not only the walls, but the quality of light that will come through the window at 3 in the afternoon, the way the hallway will make a person slow down before reaching the bedroom, the angle that will make the garden appear at the exact moment someone needs a breather. Libra organizes the space, the conversation, the silence, the words, the clothing, the table setting, like someone who is constantly saying something they can't say aloud. The harmony that Libra creates around them is not decoration. It's communication. And here's what's rarely said about this sign. Libra uses beauty to say what it doesn't have the courage to say directly. When the environment is too organized, when everything is in its perfect place, when the presentation is impeccable, it's often because something within Libra is disorganized. External beauty is an attempt to give form to internal chaos. The third mark isn't vanity, it's Libra asking to be read between the lines. What she's built around you isn't decoration, it's a poem she didn't know how else to express. And when you realize this, it completely changes the way you look at what Libra creates. Every organized space, every aesthetic choice, every detail of the presentation, these are messages in a language that Libra learned before learning to speak directly. The book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, delves deep into the intelligence that Libra possesses but doesn't recognize within itself. It explores how beauty can be both a genuine expression and a protective mechanism. It teaches how to distinguish between creating beauty out of love for what is beautiful and creating it out of fear of revealing what lies beneath. It's the kind of reading that makes Libra feel for the first time completely seen and completely understood. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. There is a specific moment in Libra's life when all three aspects operate simultaneously, and it's a moment that Libra recognizes even without having a name for it. It's when she enters a situation that demands all three at once: the sensitivity that feels everything, the sense of justice that evaluates everything, and the need to create harmony from all of that. The three traits resonate together, like a chord. Think of a musical chord. Three isolated notes are simple. You play them separately and they exist, each in its own space, each with its own timbre. But when you play all three at the same time, something greater happens. A tension arises between them, not a conflict, but a productive and necessary tension. The notes need each other to create something that none alone could achieve. Libra is that chord. And there lies the paradox that no one tells Libra, the sign that the world associates with lightness, grace, and seemingly easy balance is, internally, one of the most complex of all. Because Libra is not light by nature. Libra was built by its own characteristics to make complexity seem easy. The weight doesn't disappear. It just becomes invisible to those on the outside. Libra carries all three traits simultaneously because it has no other option. It's not as if it can choose, today only sensitivity, tomorrow only a sense of justice, then only beauty. The three arrive together, operate together, demand together. It has always been this way. The question that lingers isn't whether you can balance all three. That question is a trap. The real question, the one that changes everything when you finally ask it, is, have you ever stopped to feel the weight of what you carry before distributing it to others? This is the turning point that most people never identify in Libra, and that Libra rarely identifies in itself. Carrying all three marks simultaneously is not an overload. It's the sign's internal geometry. But a geometry that demands conscious recognition so it doesn't become a weight that crushes in silence. The three spiritual hallmarks of Libra are not passive. They are not there merely to be felt or described. They have a direction. They point somewhere. And most people, including Libra, rarely stop to ask, where to? Think of a compass. A compass doesn't tell you where to go. It doesn't chart a course. It doesn't give you directions. It doesn't remove obstacles. It simply points north. And it's up to you to decide what to do with that information. The compass doesn't judge. It doesn't wait. It just points. The three symbols of Libra are this compass. Sensitivity points to the need for inner protection, to learn to distinguish what is a signal from what is noise. What is yours from what belongs to the environment? When Libra ignores this direction, sensitivity becomes chronic exhaustion. When it honors it, it becomes a clarity that no one else has. A sense of justice points to the need for inner equity, to apply to oneself the same standard that Libra applies to the world. When Libra ignores this direction, the sense of justice turns into silent resentment. When it honors it, it becomes integrity that needs no explanation. The relationship with beauty points to the need for direct expression, to say what needs to be said in words, not just in form. When Libra ignores this direction, beauty becomes an elegant shield. When it honors, it becomes true art. None of the three marks asks Libra to be different from what it is. They ask it to delve deeper into what it already is. To stop using the marks to serve others before itself, to recognize that a compass you give to everyone, without ever consulting it for yourself, is a compass that has lost its original purpose. And so we arrive at the paradox that runs through everything that has been said here. Libra is described by the world as the sign of lightness, of grace, of balance that seems natural and effortless. And there's truth to that. Libra does indeed have an ease in creating harmony that other signs need to work hard to achieve. But there is something that lightness hides. A candle doesn't illuminate itself. It doesn't see its own light. You only see what illuminates around you. And Libra, like the candle, often spends its entire life revealing what is beautiful, just and perceptible around it, without ever having stopped long enough to perceive what is beautiful, just and perceptible within itself. The three spiritual markers are not ready-made gifts. They are coordinates. They indicate where Libra is on the map of one's own soul. And when you honestly stop using the markers to navigate other people's space and start using them to navigate your own, something changes. Not dramatically, not all at once, but it changes in a way that cannot be undone. Libra doesn't need to be any lighter. It's already light enough to support everyone. What she needs, what perhaps you need, is permission to be heavy for herself, to feel her own weight without rushing to balance it, to let the trembling happen without immediately transforming it into something others can bear. The marks have always been there. They always will be. The only thing that changes is what you decide to do when you finally recognize them for what they are. Not burdens, not gifts, not someone else's responsibilities. Coordinates that have always pointed towards you.